In the golden light of Lisbon's early evening in Portugal, where tram bells chime like echoes of a slower life and jacaranda blossoms line the narrow cobblestone streets. Silvia and André were once the kind of couple that people imagined would last forever. You'd see them on Sunday mornings sharing an espresso in Alfama, his vintage camera slung around his shoulder, her fingers absently brushing his arm as they talked about something, anything, with the ease of people deeply connected. Silvia, 31, was grounded, meticulous, and full of quiet ambition. A communications officer by profession, she lived by color-coded budgets, weekly meal plans, and a growing spreadsheet of future goals, saving for a home, planning for emergencies, and one day, starting a family. She had learned from her parents, the kind of people who knew how to stretch every euro, that peace of mind wasn't bought with luxury, but with consistency and intention. André, 34, saw life through a different lens, literally and figuratively. A freelance photographer, he was charming, impulsive, and driven by the pursuit of beauty. He believed in moments, raw, imperfect, surprising, the kind of man who might spend half his savings on a new drone camera just to capture a sunset from a new angle. He adored Silvia's structure, but structure wasn't in his DNA. Their relationship began with an instant pull, a gallery opening, a laugh shared over spilled wine, a midnight walk through the Alfama Hills, where he told her he wanted to photograph the way her voice sounded when she talked about things she loved. They fell fast, and in the glow of the early days, their differences felt like puzzle pieces clicking into place. She brought steadiness to his chaos. He brought color to her routine. But love, as they would come to learn, needs more than chemistry. The cracks began to show in small, quiet moments. Silvia would mention the need to tighten their budget after a lean month, and André would respond with a shrug. Or worse, a joke. He'd surprise her with an expensive dinner after a hard week at work, thinking it romantic, not realizing she was calculating the impact on their joint account in her head. When she tried to talk to him, gently, carefully, about setting limits, he'd often reply, "You worry too much. It always works out." It didn't always work out. Over time, Silvia began to feel more like a financial advisor than a partner. She would stay up late paying bills, transferring money between accounts, trying to figure out how to cover André's latest purchase, a new lens, a weekend trip, a limited edition photo printer. Each time, she'd bite her tongue, telling herself it wasn't worth the fight. But inside, resentment grew. The breaking point came on their third wedding anniversary. Silvia had asked for something simple, a picnic at the park, maybe a homemade dinner. They'd just come off a difficult month financially. André had had a shoot cancelled last minute, and Silvia had helped cover rent from her savings. She thought they had agreed to keep it low-key. But when she arrived home that evening, suitcase in hand after a long day at work, André greeted her with a wide smile and keys to a rental car. "Surprise," he said, kissing her cheek. "We're going to the Algarve. I booked us into a suite by the ocean. You'll love it. There's a private jacuzzi on the balcony." Silvia froze. Her heart wanted to feel touched, but her stomach dropped. They went. What else could she do? She smiled for the camera, let him photograph her standing barefoot in the sand, ate the chef's tasting menu with a knot in her throat. But when they returned, and she opened the bank app, the weight of it all finally crashed down. They were nearly out of savings. The credit card was close to its limit. And André, sweet, passionate André, was humming in the kitchen, talking about his next photography idea like they weren't on the edge of financial collapse. That night, she sat at their tiny kitchen table, the room lit only by the glow of her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keys for a long time. Then she began to type. "Dear André, I don't know how to write this without breaking both our hearts." It was a divorce letter. She didn't finish it. but she wrote enough to feel the grief of even considering the end of their life together. The next morning, she tucked it away in a drawer and said nothing. But something had shifted. André felt it, the silence, the way her gaze stopped meeting his, the way her laughter didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. He asked what was wrong. And she said she was tired. Just tired, which was true, but not the whole truth. It was a friend who saved them from going under. One afternoon, over a quiet lunch break, Silvia confided in Marta, a colleague who had been through a divorce years earlier. Marta didn't offer trite advice. Instead, she looked Silvia in the eyes and said, "Do you want to save this marriage?" Silvia hesitated, then nodded, then talked to someone. Together. Don't wait until you're past the point of no return. It took courage. When Silvia brought it up to André, she half expected him to laugh it off. But to her surprise, he didn't. He looked wounded, but not defensive. "I didn't know it was this bad," he said quietly. Their first session with the counselor was filled with long pauses. Silvia spoke with precision and pain, detailing the nights she stayed awake worrying, the loneliness of managing it all alone. André listened, trying not to interrupt, trying to absorb it all. When it was his turn, his voice cracked. "I didn't think I was doing harm," he said. "I just wanted to give us joy. I thought I was being romantic." The therapist asked a simple question. "What does money mean to each of you?" Silvia said, "Stability, safety, a future." André said, "Freedom, possibility, love." That moment became the beginning of something new. They started to see each other differently, not as enemies on opposite sides of a financial battlefield, but as two people carrying very different stories about money and love. André wasn't careless. He was afraid of a life too predictable, too gray. Silvia wasn't controlling. She was afraid of falling, of losing everything they'd built because no one was holding the rope with her. Together, they built new habits. They started money dates once a month. They made tea, lit a candle, and sat down, not just to talk about what was due, but about dreams, about values, about what really mattered. They created a shared spreadsheet. But this time, André helped design it, turning it into something visual, even beautiful. They added 2 separate, freedom accounts, each with a modest budget to spend however they wanted. Guilt-free. And something surprising happened. André started to enjoy the structure. Not because he had to, but because it gave him clarity. And Silvia? She learned to loosen her grip. Just enough to let André surprise her, within the bounds they'd agreed on. Their love didn't become perfect, but it became honest. There were still disagreements. One time, André used his freedom fund early in the month and wanted to dip into their shared account for a photography course. Silvia said no. He sulked for a day. But then he came back and said, "You're right, I'll wait." And she held his hand and said, "Thank you." Those small moments of respect rebuilt what the big gestures had slowly eroded. And with time, they became stronger, not just as partners in romance, but as true teammates. Today, their apartment in Lisbon still carries the same warmth as it did in the beginning. The kitchen is still small. The books still overflow. But now, beside the fridge, there's a whiteboard with their goals in marker. Save for a rainy day. Plan a trip to Japan. Maybe adopt a dog. And that letter Silvia wrote? It's still in the drawer. She never threw it away. Not as a threat, but as a reminder. A quiet symbol of how close they came to losing everything, and how deeply they chose instead to stay. Their story isn't flashy. It won't go viral. But it's real. It's one of the many unseen victories of love, the kind that isn't about grand declarations, but about two people choosing to face the hard things together. Because in the end, healing didn't come from fixing everything. It came from finally listening. From learning how to carry the weight. Not alone, but side by side. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you're facing unresolved challenges in your own marriage, we invite you to share your story in the comments below. We read every message, and we hope our words of encouragement will give you the strength to keep going. Even on the hardest days, we're here with you, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode.